documenting the front lines of the AI revolution, the AI Rebels podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the AI Rebels podcast. We're very excited to have Marco. Marco, before I butcher your name, and so everyone can say it correctly that's listening, will you say your full name for us?
My correct name is Marco van Hylckama Vlieg.
Van Hylckama Vlieg, like that?
Yes.
How
Yeah,
close
not
was
bad.
that?
That's not bad.
Okay. All right. I'm feeling pretty good about it. That's a good way to start.
All right.
So, Marco, thank you for coming on and taking the time. We're really excited to learn more about you.
Sure. I'm happy to be here.
Excellent. Can we get a quick intro of you, maybe your path to AI and where you're at now?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I am a senior product designer by day at a major retailer in the US. So that's my day job. And when it comes to AI, I kind of got interested in it as soon as ChatGPT came to the market. So that's kind of when it started. At that time, I also started playing around with Midjourney, which I thought was particularly interesting because it's like a creative tool, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, ever since I've been kind of like a fanatic in all things AI. I have managed to build a presence on X/Twitter. I have now like 11,000 followers, so I'm kind of trying to make this be like my thing. So I'm trying to move towards that. At work, actually, I've managed to recently actually get to a point where the word AI is even my job title. So I'm doing AI
That's
stuff
great.
at work also. I can tell you guys a little bit about that also. And yeah, so AI all the way at work and outside of work. Outside of work, I'm a fanatical filmmaker. You know, I like making videos, music videos, short stories, all sorts of things. And I also use my online presence to do like tutorials and demos and, you know, keeping people in the loop of what's happening and all that sort of thing. So that's basically kind of me in a nutshell.
So quickly, is there a, do you play around with AI music much?
A lot, yes, a lot.
Have you, which one is your favorite AI music platform?
So
This isn't
recently,
really leading anywhere. I'm just curious.
a new one just dropped that I'm particularly impressed with, which is it's called Refusion. Have you guys heard of it?
Yes.
And
This is why I wanted to bring it up.
It's like
Yeah, Marco, I actually think I saw your post, which then I
it
got
is
down
like
this whole thing looking at it.
yeah. So I have this. I have several AI alter egos. One of them is DJ Fly. I even opened a YouTube channel for this. What I
Okay.
do there is I post like hour-long sets of like trance, progressive house, and all that sort of thing.
Wow,
So
DJ Fly. So now the cat's out of the bag. People know your alter ego.
yeah, it's not a secret, so people know this. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Awesome.
yeah, so I do. Yeah, I love the AI music scene. It's
Yeah.
really fun. Yeah, love it.
Yeah, I recommend everyone check out Refusion. It's awesome. I was playing with it a lot the other day to make the intro music for a podcast.
And
Anyways,
Refusion, if you're
now that
listening,
aside is
come on the show.
out of the way. Yeah, that's the other appeal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Refusion, reach out to us.
Oh, did they?
Well, we're hoping.
We want them to.
Oh, you want them to? Yeah.
Anyways,
I got in touch with one of their engineers. Actually, we're mutual followers now, so I can give him a nudge or something if you want.
Excellent.
we'll do that after the
Sure.
episode. Let's get back to the subject
Sound
at
good.
hand.
Marco, one thing I'm always interested in is what's your view, like what right now the status, if you compare human art, AI art, what in your mind distinguishes the two, or is there any distinction?
So there's a lot of debate about that stuff, right? Like you have a lot of traditional artists that really hate AI because they're like, it's not art, it's just the computer doing it and all that sort of thing. And my take on that is that it's partially true and partially not. Let me explain that a little bit. If you just say, hey, I want a nice little sunset landscape in the forest, and then a picture runs out, it's hard to defend that you're an artist at that point, if you ask me. So, however, if you render pieces, you mash them together, you mix styles, and then you rehash them. Even especially more so with video. A video is like you make a storyboard, you put the scenes together, you do the editing. You're kind of like a director, right? That stuff is art, in my opinion, just as much as that you're doing. So it's a little bit of both, right? If you just like push the button and something comes out, there are people that are willing to argue that that's also art. I personally am kind of with the haters on that one. But
Yeah, no, I can see that.
if you use it as a tool, right, to enrich what you're trying to do, or to make something happen that would otherwise never happen, like a film, for example. You're trying to tell a sci-fi story or something that you could never have made without AI. At that point, in my opinion, just using it as a tool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
I kind of think of it as somewhat similar to like the Dada or the conceptual art movements, where the bad examples of it, are pretty bad, and they're pretty disappointing and pretty low effort.
Mm-hmm.
But those that are, very carefully curated, like you were mentioning with directors, etc., yeah, I would rise to that bar. It'll be interesting to see what comes with kind of the, whatever the next evolution of these creative tools are, because you can imagine them getting much more controllable over the next couple generations, and they're already very, very composable.
Yeah, there's still a lot of work to be done there, to be honest with you. So I think, yeah, it'll definitely be exciting to see how that's going to evolve this year. I'm expecting a lot because a crazy amount of things have happened just in January. So I think this year is
seriously.
going to be insane.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, I mean, on that vein, is there anything specific that you're excited for this year?
In terms of tools, I'm just
Tools, releases.
it's always exciting to see how things evolve. There's not something in particular because we can't predict what's going to drop, who's going to do what, right? So
Yeah, you never can predict. That's true.
I'm excited about using them all together and the community and all that sort of thing. There is have you guys heard of Imagine AI Live, the conference?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So, yeah, I'm one of the founding members of Imagine AI Live, actually. And yeah, we're doing another one May 28 till 30. And
That's amazing.
that's like the biggest exciting thing for me that's coming up, because I'm going to be hosting a video creation workshop there, teaching people how to actually do this video stuff. So, yeah, very excited about that.
Yeah, that's amazing. What's the target audience with Imagine AI Live?
It's kind of a mix between there's a kind of like a corporate aspect to it, like a business sort of thing, and then there's the creative aspect, people that want to, use AI for all things creative. So those are kind of like a two-prong approach.
Yeah.
And a lot of community members have already said that they're coming, so I think it's also going to be a big, fun community event where all these people finally like meet each other and all that.
Yeah.
You guys should
Yeah.
come if you can make it.
Hey, it's in Las Vegas, is that right?
Not far from me. Not far from me at all.
Spencer's in Utah.
There you
drive
go.
down there.
So
There you go.
I have to pop down. That's great.
Yeah.
What was actually
recommended
with that? I mean, that's a huge undertaking. What was the goal for you and the other founding members with that conference?
to create like an event where in a couple of days you learn more about AI than you would in a whole year doing it yourself, because it's just so condensed and there's so much going on and so many cool people to meet. That's kind of the vision of Steve Metcalf. He's the original founder of the whole thing. That was his vision, and that really worked out. So I can't wait to see how it's going to this year. It's going to be even bigger, I think. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
That's very exciting.
So I'd be interested, what's kind of like a typical day in your life as a, AI and design expert at your job and in, your personal endeavors as well?
So at my job, I'm currently working on, let's say, what we're trying to do is AI-ifying product descriptions using LLMs like OpenAI, API, and stuff like that. But imagine that based on a product image and a title, an attribute, you feed that in, and then you got the descriptions back out. So that's the project I'm working on right now at work.
So
And
That's amazing.
quick question about that. If I can establish a quick aside, because I'm
of
curious
course,
to hear one problem that I've had with generating AI descriptions of objects, podcasts, etc., is getting the LLM to understand kind of like which points are actually salient for the description. So I'd be interested to hear if you guys have run into that problem, and if there's any insight that you are, that's non-proprietary. Don't want you to give away your sauce, obviously.
I don't think there's anything particularly secret here. Like, imagine you have human editors, and in order to write descriptions about anything, they have guides that kind of tell them like what the description should be like.
Mhm.
Like, this should always be in it. Never put this in it. Don't use this language. Do use that language. All that sort of thing. There's a whole guide. So if you put that whole guide and turn that into a prompt, then you can make it very close to what you need. One great tip I can give you, if you go, this is like a power tip, I think. So let's say you go in using O1, right? Like the reasoning one, and you work on writing descriptions. So you keep tweaking it and giving it directions, a little bit more of this, a little bit less of that, and all, until it's really good, right? The magic lies then that when you're done, you say, now give me instructions for a custom GPT that does everything we've been doing all this afternoon. And then
Wow.
please give it to me in markdown format in a nice like code copy paste box. And then if you turn that into a GPT, it'll blow your mind. Because nobody knows better how to make a custom GPT than ChatGPT.
It like births a new child right
This is
there.
like a power trick, and I've made many GPTs for myself and for work using this methodology, and it's just fantastic.
Yeah,
That's
I've done
amazing.
similar tricks with built a little lyric writing app, and half of the prompt engineering with that was I wrote the original prompt, and then I went to Claude and I said, hey, I want to tweak this part of the prompt to improve the responses in this way. Claude would help me with that, and then ChatGPT would help me with another part. It was really incredible to see, and so it's crazy where it's getting to
I've done the
that way.
same thing with, if you look at, for example, let's say you have Runway ML, right, for video.
Yeah,
You could take the entire documentation of how to prompt and feed the whole thing into ChatGPT and then say, okay, so now with all this knowledge, make me a GPT that like applies all this, you know what I mean? And then you'll get a GPT that creates fantastic prompts. You can
that's
just
awesome.
give it a couple lines. I want something so and so and so and so, and then it'll just give you this long, elaborated prompt, and you get really nice output.
So, anyways, to
It's
get us
fantastic.
back onto the rails here. Are these custom GPTs deployed within your organization, or is this just something that you do for yourself personally?
So those are in the organization. Those are like,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, because I don't know when you'll get to this, but I saw in the questions like what might be hurdles or something like that when you use this at work. Well, one big hurdle was at first. We didn't have any of that stuff, so it kind of became this like rogue
Yeah.
thing that people were doing on the side, and then the scandals
Rebels.
started coming up. Like, people are feeding corporate data into GPT, and then they came out with like an AI policy, like, oh, you can't do any of this and this and this and this, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of companies did, but luckily we actually got ChatGPT Enterprise. And that is almost kind of like using Google Cloud, right? Like they don't look at your stuff.
Hmm.
So OpenAI is offering the same thing to businesses, like, hey, you can now use ChatGPT, and what you put in is not going to be like used by us to train our model
Yeah.
or anything like that.
Right.
So now I can do everything I want for work because we don't have to worry about this, proprietary data issue or anything like that. But if you don't have that, then yeah, you got to watch out because, I think these are things you can get fired over. So I would recommend everybody
Yeah.
to be careful with this.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, that's encouraging though that your organization, it's funny the arc. I feel like we're hearing this a lot where an organization, AI was so new, people kind of panicked, worried about their data. They got comfortable. Everyone kind of built trust in OpenAI that it would be okay. Now they're adopting it, but now people are like, okay, so what are the use cases here? Like, how do we use this in our organization? What does this even
Yeah.
look like now that we're comfortable with it? It sounds like your organization, though, is kind of moving along using custom GPTs. Obviously, you said your title now involves AI. So
Yeah.
how big is your team, and is everyone working on AI? Like, is AI a big part of this organization, or is it just
But I mean, it's retail, right? So there's all kinds of areas in which AI can be deployed. And my team is primarily working on all things content. And at the moment, that's like descriptions and stuff like that. One thing I was going to add that people can do in this context, and that's actually what I was doing before we got the enterprise stuff, is run local, provided you have a machine that can handle it. I would
yeah?
do all kinds of things with like Llama 3 and whatnot. And then that was okay because I'm not sending anything over the internet. So I could use that for work, even though it was technically not sanctioned. Does that make sense? Because I'm just
Yeah,
working
because
on
it's all
my
local.
machine and nothing ever goes out. So, there's no
Yeah,
risk.
yeah,
I love
that makes sense.
local models. It's a beautiful thing.
If you have a Mac with beefy amount of memory, you can run these things locally, and it's actually quite impressive.
Yeah, that's
Ooh.
really amazing. Have you seen everyone hooking up the 8 Mac Minis and doing a whole stack to run things locally?
Yeah, I saw
Got a
people run the full DeepSeek R1 on like a tower of Mac Minis. Yeah.
It's wild. Yeah. Um, so I mean, okay, so this is your day job, which is now transitioned to AI, but you have this whole presence on X, you're doing this conference, you're doing all these things, and so obviously it's bigger than your job.
Yeah.
What is it about AI for you, Marco, with your perspective as a designer, all these like with your unique perspective, what gets you most excited about AI? Why are you so passionate?
Well, it's half passion and half seeing the writings on the wall for me because I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it's extremely important to become. I tell this to people, I write about this on LinkedIn, all this stuff, right? Like, please, for the love of God, become as knowledgeable as possible about AI and how you can use it in your job. Because a lot of people have heard this model for sure. It's not like AI is going to take your job, but people who are really good at using AI, they definitely are. So, because if you really know how to use AI to do things at work, you have a massive edge towards over people who don't, you know what I'm saying? So that's
for
one
sure.
area. I wanted to future proof myself to some extent. And
Yeah,
then and then also, I just love all things creative, right? I've always liked film, I've always liked music. So it's just kind of like a hobby as well. So it's like those aspects together, basically. And then I like the whole community thing and trying to teach people things and building community. I started like a filmmaker community on X actually, and it already has like it's like 1,300 people in it already, so it's
that's
pretty cool.
amazing.
And
That's
yeah,
really
just
cool.
to just kind of create that all those things. That's
Hmm.
kind of what drives me there.
Yeah, sounds like you like to create, which I think is a similar thing
Yeah,
we're
common
hearing a lot.
theme.
Like AI just enables this creation
yeah,
that
and it's
a lot
getting
of
to the
people have.
point where every now and then you get people. I even get like little freelance gigs that people ask for certain things and all that. So that's starting to roll a little bit as well.
That's exciting. Would you like to see that? Like, is the end game? Would you like to leave your day job and focus solely on coaching these, like doing contract work, stuff like that?
Not that it depends. Like I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I don't know if creating content, if that's like a truly viable future, because I fear a little bit that might be a race to the bottom because more and more people are starting to do it and more people are starting to get good at it, and then the price goes down. And
Yeah,
so I don't know. I think it's fun for now to have a little side hustle here and there, and I really like just doing my own thing. But I don't know if that is like a sustainable thing. I believe more in like the teaching, the being an overall expert, you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And
Yeah.
and one thing that would be cool is to work for one of these bigger AI companies and do product, UX, community, that sort of thing. That's kind of the big dream, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That would be awesome. I
So
can
so
see
all
it.
the stuff I'm doing might lead to that. I'm kind of hoping for that, you know?
Hey, we had one person on. His name's Aiden. We've mentioned him before, but he came on months later. He was hired by OpenAI. So,
There you go.
now you're on. A few months, give it some
Yeah.
time.
OpenAI,
Yeah, there you go.
I'm here. Yeah.
So I'd be curious to hear what opportunities do you see for AI to democratize kind of design access and,
Yeah, I think it plays a huge role there. It allows people to realize their ideas, even though they're not really good at using a pencil or something. There's a
Hmm.
funny thing that, like, people that are kind of against it, they always say, "Oh, pick up a pencil," right? And then, but in a way, there's something elitist about that because some people just don't have that talent, right? And then you can say, "Oh,
Mhm.
well, practice," but talent is a thing, right? Like some people can sing really well, some people don't, and it's
Hmm.
like that with a lot of these things. And I think it really enables people that were previously not able to realize a vision, that a very nice, interesting, creative vision, and now they can do it. So that definitely democratizes art, if you ask me. And then the other aspect is there's also a lot of people that have all kinds of handicaps, disabilities,
Mhm.
and they suddenly now are able to express themselves in all these ways that they just physically, literally can't do. So I think it's wonderful. There's a lot of that democratization happening there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's very exciting. I know for me, I am not physically artistic, painting, sketching,
Right.
but this has really allowed me to find a way to get my creative outlet. It's been really fun.
Yeah, you could now create a character and start even making
Yeah,
like episodes on the web and put it on the website.
just as a single person, yeah, you
Yeah,
can do it all.
yeah, yeah.
It's amazing. Well, I guess, Spencer, thank you for asking this question because I forgot I also wanted to ask a similar one, which is that with this idea of AI making it so easy, I've thought a lot about this where I've had to remind myself to not become handicapped by it, where I no longer am thinking for myself. I no longer am becoming creative and I'm saying, give me a creative idea about X. And it gives it to me. I'm like, sounds great. Done. Use that. Do you think that is a problem? Or do you think it's like, no, it's fine?
Well, funny. In my current situation, I oftentimes still find the tools actually too limited rather than too easy to use because
Hmm.
I still struggle a ton with getting exactly what I actually have in my head. Like when it comes to these little freelance projects, for example, I always have to tell people up front, like, what's going to happen is that I'm going to tell you that this particular thing, I just can't do it. And then you could
Hmm.
be like, well, then I'll go to someone else. But chances are that they can't do it either because of all kinds of tool limitations, or it won't exactly do that thing that you asked, or it can't get that camera movement, or can't get this exact style, or can't all that kind of thing. So when it comes to generating ideas, because that's what you were getting at, I think, right? Like
Hmm.
I kind of use it as a back and forth brainstorm partner. So there's still a lot of creative input going into that as well. But, and that's the one last thing, some people are saying maybe 5-10 years from now, you can actually go to like a Netflix and literally say, I want to watch a show about this and this, or this kind of character in it, this monster, and you literally get 10 45-minute episodes completely tailored towards you, made with AI. That if that's if it becomes like that, then yeah, there's no creativity there anymore, except for just like setting out a plot. So
Yeah.
it might happen, but it's not happening right now.
Yeah. It will be fascinating. We're so early. to see as various unforeseen consequences potentially play out. Who knows what those will be, but it'll be fascinating.
It's possible, I think, that there's going to be this thing that I would call artisanal content versus automatic content. And that it becomes like a thing, like, okay, I want real human produced content versus, what comes out of the AI Netflix, so to say. It might be a future that's coming. I'm not sure how I feel about that yet.
Yeah.
Basically, fast food versus eating in a restaurant. That's how I've started to think
That's
about
a great
it.
analogy. Yeah,
Yeah.
If you just want something fast, AI is going to be great and will be for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like processed food versus a chef that does everything manually with raw ingredients and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that music in particular will remain human driven for a while just because of the human connection. I think that we're going to start seeing AI music breaking through here soon, but I think that in general it's going to remain like a very human industry, with the exception of some specific music genres. But I'll not go too far down that road in the interest of not slandering anybody's favorite music. Although I'm happy to do that if we talk in person.
One thing worth mentioning, I think, is that the curation is important here, right? Like those DJ sets that I told you guys about, that they are what they are because only 1 in 10 or so generations actually makes it in. Because most of them are like, that's crap, can't go in. This is no good.
Yeah.
So there is, the curation becomes an art in and of itself to some extent, I think. And it's a different way of doing music.
Yeah, I think that word curation, I like that because it's almost there's going to be a new artistic power of curation rather than like almost curation more than just creation, where you're able to curate the right parts and you can generate and realize what's actually going to catch on.
And in a way, that's what a DJ is doing also, right? Because I remember like when the whole EDM scene came out, people would be like, the DJ is not a musician, but you know what I mean? But the DJ is setting the mood, he's creating a progression, like from calm to excitement, mixing things together. And that's a curator as well, right? If you think of it. And it's an art. I think it's an art.
Yeah, no,
I'd be curious to hear, do you think that designers should be transparent upfront with clients that they are using, like, say you're just, general designer, should you be upfront with a client if you use AI tools in the process of building whatever it is you're building for them?
In my opinion, you should be. I think, like, why would you even want to hide it, right? Like I literally advertise myself as somebody who deploys all these tools to get you what you want. And, I also use my old school design tools in it, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I can see that. I know I'm in public accounting, and AI is making lots of waves in this industry. And they've had to shift the way they bill their clients because they were so worried that because in the past it was all hourly, right? So they could say, hey, for this audit, for this tax return, whatever it is, we're going to bill you 2,000 hours. And here's the rate, partners, associates, blah, blah, blah. And now if they can say, it's actually only going to take us 200 hours or whatever it is, 500 hours, but they can't take a 75% hit on their billings. So they've had to shift it to more of a value billing, where it's saying, we're performing this audit and we're taking on this risk to perform this audit for you.
Yeah.
And here's the value for you, and this is what we're billing you for that value in our audit opinion, which I think might be similar to how for designers it could be, where it's saying, hey, we use AI. This is what we use it for.
Yeah.
This is the final product though, and this is what we deem that's worth for you.
I think you could still, as a designer anyway, you could still just work on an hourly basis, right? Like when somebody says, hey, can you make me a little advertisement, 30-second reel or something? I just, I can do that hourly, right? And I just happen to use AI. If I didn't use AI, it would probably take 100 hours, and now it'll take 10. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
Because of what I can do with AI. So I can say, well, I can do this for you for like $1,500 or $2,000 or something. You know what I mean?
So you're saying it's more of a now you just wouldn't have to bill as much for that, but you could do more of them for more customers,
Yes.
is the
I
idea.
don't know if it works that way in accounting, but it works like that for me, like at work right now too. Like for example, a while ago, I did a bunch of, like, let's call it competitive market research. I would just go out and do a bunch of like internet research, and then I put it all in ChatGPT and I processed it and I turned it into overviews and tables and all this stuff, right?
hmm
So in 3 days or so, I got something done that I think if I had to do that manually would have taken me 3 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how much work was involved. So now I can do more in less time. And now that
hmm
they have this new thing that only Plus users have access to, now you can even tell ChatGPT like, go do this research for me, and then you just like so.
Crazy.
So now I can soon do this in like half an hour.
hmm Yeah. No,
So, but in accounting, yeah, I guess I mean that would be nice if you can also get like more jobs, because otherwise, yeah, if you have to cut it by that much, you're gonna be in trouble, of course.
I know.
Yeah.
It's an interesting problem that AI is bringing up.
Yeah, I'd quickly be curious, Jake. Wow, quickly be curious, Jake, in hearing maybe just a little bit more about what you think some of the knock-on effects of that might be for fields like accounting. I think that'd be
Yeah.
interesting to talk about real quick. I'd just
I
love to
think it
hear
was
your perspective.
Yeah, I think it was an unforeseen consequence of AI that our hours are going down, and that's our basis for billing, right?
Yeah,
We can still deliver. I mean, realistically, you're delivering a higher quality product. AI is way better at catching number problems than humans are. It catches everything. So there's even talk about audits because a big thing with auditing, right, is taking samples. Sample the population because they have a billion expenses in a year. So you take a sample. But now with AI, you could audit the whole population and know exactly what's wrong.
Yeah.
So that's where I think what companies are going to have to do is, I think I touched on it, but like really focus on the value. Because as an auditor, for example, it's like you're signing an audit opinion saying, hey, we verified these financial statements are accurate. So what's that worth for a public company? It
Right.
could go down. And that's where it's going to be fast. It could result, honestly, in a decrease in the demand for the number of auditors. Maybe some of the big firms come together. It's going to be, I think the next 5 years, 2 years will be very interesting because there's a limited number
Yeah.
of public companies that are required to be audited, right? So,
I do think that you're onto something there, that there's a big reduction in how many of these people are going to be needed, right? Because, for example, let's take something simple, right? It's not going to be more than a couple of years until you just scan all your documents and then you put it in AI, and AI is going to file your taxes. I mean, because it's not rocket science to file taxes. And the AI is probably going to get you your absolute best possible refund, better than any human could do, because it knows everything, all the little loopholes. Do you have a receipt for this? You can do this. You can like optimize it to the max, right?
hmm yeah, that's so true. So again, it's one of those
I would be
unforeseen
worried if I worked for
consequences. Yeah.
HR Blog doing people's taxes,
Yeah.
because this is done in a couple of years.
Yeah. Very soon. Very soon. Make sure you get the loophole, GPT for that one.
Yeah,
Cayman Islands.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Well,
honestly, if you think of it like that, it might just the IRS itself might be mostly AI-fied in the near future, because why would you need all these people, right?
yeah.
If
Yeah.
if these AIs are going to crunch all these numbers at like record pace.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, talking about this now is kind of bringing up this question where, Marco, you brought up this interesting idea of like artesian art, human-made art versus AI art, and how that could become more and more of a distinction and value could be placed likely more on like human art in the future. I wonder if auditing, for example, right? We're making sure what you say something is what it is.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's going to be a future for AI auditors that really dig into something and say, nice try. Like this is AI generated, right? Or like they sign off on it that this is human generated. I think there could be an industry in the future for something like that.
Let's start it.
Yeah.
Well, that you're onto something there. In general, I believe AI will probably take out a whole bunch of industries, but create a whole bunch of new ones. Most of the optimistic viewpoints, which I tend to share, is that there might be some pain in the short term, but in the longer term, you're going to see all these new things pop up that don't exist right now because of AI. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't even know what
exciting.
they are yet because it's just going to be crazy in that sense.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about one industry right now, and there's so many ways it could
Rabbit
go,
holes.
so many changes. Yeah, it's crazy.
In the design industry, I also think that's dramatically going to change as well. Like, for example, I put an article out on LinkedIn a while ago, and the title of the article is I'm a senior product designer and I'm 51 years old and I don't have an online portfolio and I'm not going to do it. And people be like, "Are you crazy?" I'm like, this is no longer really relevant because here's why. UX design is kind of doing the same thing over and over again, right? Like this is not art. It never was art. You're just applying best practices and then coming up with a user interface that works well for whatever it is that you're building. And guess what? AI is going to do that. There are already products out there like UX Pilot is one of those things. You just say, "Oh, I need an app that does so and so and so," and then it'll just spit out Figma files for you. You can tweak them, or you can prompt again, like, "Oh, I want to change this a little bit here and there."
Mm,
That whole industry is also going to be to the point where you're like, it's really just more about can I use all these tools to get my employer what they need?
right.
It's changing
Yeah.
everywhere.
So on the note of using generative tools with UX UI, I'd be curious, have you seen any of the kind of demos and attempts at sort of generative UIs and UXs of, they generated on the fly, you use them and they disappear? I'd be curious first if as a designer you have any thoughts on why those have not caught on yet. And second, if you think that that's a even worthy direction to go in. This is something that I have thought a lot about.
I think this aspect of generative AI is still relatively in its infancy compared to a lot of other things.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't spent like a lot of time with these tools, but what little I have, I was like, yeah, it's kind of nice to get ideas or to kind of like bang out a concept, but it's just it's not controllable enough yet to literally do the job for you. And this is basically the same problem, right, with the image generation, with the movie scene generation, that the level of control isn't there yet. So which limits its use to exploring, prototyping, just kind of see like, I wonder how this thing would do this UX, to get ideas that you then might actually use in Figma or whatever you want. So it's that's the stage at which it is right now. We're not there yet where you can be like, okay, we're revamping the Bank of America app and I want you to do the entire UX flow, login, security, account management. We're not there yet.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll be I think it's a similar advancement as what you mentioned with like the AI Netflix or that idea where it's generated on
Yeah.
the fly, it's quality, and we're not there yet, but I think we
Right.
will
No,
be.
not nearly yet. No.
Okay, this is a little off, maybe a little weird, but I wonder in the future
Mm-hmm.
when we achieve AGI, right? There are
Right.
agents operating autonomously doing what they do. There's an autonomous Picasso GPT that's generating art. And who, at that point, who would own the art? Would it be the GPT? Would it, if it's autonomous, or would it be the person who initially kicked it off, who set the spark? I wonder your thoughts on that.
Well, actually, the Copyright Office actually did some kind of a ruling about that recently. I don't know if you noticed that, but the notion is right now that if something is completely machine generated, nobody owns it. It's not copyrightable. So nobody owns it, and it's fair game for anybody to get it and do with
To
it
use.
whatever they want. Because there's been no copyright. A couple of caveats there. What always is owned, of course, is IP, right? So if the machine creates images of Spider-Man, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is IP, so that is still protected. The image itself is maybe not copyrighted, but you don't have the right to put anything out with Spider-Man in it. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
so that's one distinction. You have copyright and IP, and then the second thing that they ruled, which was it made me very happy as somebody who likes to make AI film and stuff like that. So they also said if it contains a substantial amount of human input, it is copyrightable. So for example, if I make a storyboard and I flesh this out and I go back and forth with the AI and then I start rendering images and then I start
Mm-hmm.
using the images to create video fragments and then I put a soundtrack on it, and then I put it all together, right? At that point, you could argue like the raw scene that I prompted Runway for that 4-second piece is technically not copyrightable, but my entire film is. So you're
Yeah.
pretty safe at that point. So yeah, people could only like take your stuff if they had the raw footage. If it's in your edit, then that's also copyrighted because you did that,
Yeah.
as a human, you know.
So the holistic video, for example, or whatever it is, image, story is copyrightable, but the parts would not be. The individual machine-generated parts, you're saying?
But yeah, but that kind of becomes a moot issue when it comes to these videos because people won't even have access to those parts. So your
Right.
film
Right.
your film is yours, basically.
Yeah. I mean,
Which
this
is
was a
great, man.
huge deal for
Yeah, I was so
especially AI
excited when
designers
that
like
happened.
yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you copyrighted anything yet or not yet?
Well, I mean, technically everything you make, you have copyright, right? So what's on my YouTube is already copyrighted by me. If somebody takes that, I can take them to court. It's more if you want to like register things like that. I haven't done that yet, but if I ever get to a point where, for example, kind of want to create characters and like make those my characters, I would register those so that somebody else can't make anything
DJ
with it.
Fly.
DJ Fly.
That's right. No one can take DJ Fly.
I haven't really given DJ Fly a specific face yet, but when I do, yeah, that becomes like a thing more and more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for our listeners who are new to AI or perhaps haven't dipped their toes yet into the waters of AI at all yet,
Right.
what is kind of one thing that that you wish people understood about the role of AI in design?
The whole design process is still completely human affair, as what I would say to that. We're just applying tools that take certain things you have to do less of, certain things you now do more of, all that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Totally. I
That's what
think,
I would say.
yeah, and this touches on an interesting point that I think there are two buckets of people right now in the world where when they see AI, either AI generated or like when they see that Marco uses AI tools in his process, one bucket elevates that and says, cutting edge, he's therefore performing at the best he possibly can because he's not held back.
Right.
But then there's another bucket, I think, that says robots, not human generated, and they think less of it. And I think, like you said, the writing on the wall, like this second group has got to adapt. And I'm curious if you have thoughts on how to help these people that do think less of AI, how to help them change.
Well, okay, so yeah, that's a good question. Whenever these people come, it's not been so bad lately, but there's been some waves where people would like get really nasty and like come at you and be like, "Oh, you're like killing the art and you're hurting us and this."
Mm-hmm. Right.
I try to approach that for the most part with empathy, because this is mostly, it's fear, right? Because people are like, oh, I'm watching my entire livelihood disappear. And in a way, you probably have that in your accounting space as well. Like, oh, what's this going to
Lots
mean?
of people
Maybe
feel
they
it.
won't need me. So we're all feeling that. But um, what I tell these people is like, hey, if you're truly if you're a truly good artist and you're making remarkable things, you can just keep doing that. Nobody's going to tell you that you can't do that anymore. And I don't believe that the AI is going to take you out. I did find something very interesting, that the people that would come at me the most aggressively didn't exactly have very impressive portfolios. Let me put it that. The people that are really amazing are too
Yeah.
busy making art.
Yeah. They don't
They're
care.
not going to
Yeah.
come at this guy who's making
I
AI
noticed the
videos
same.
like, and let's go and like call him a retard on Twitter or something. Like, we're not. They're too busy making
Yeah.
really
They
good
don't have
art.
time to. Yeah. Totally.
Or they're experimenting with AI themselves.
Right? They are, and that's the thing also, because I hear that a lot in the art scene. A lot of artists are doing that, and they're just kind of being hush hush about it because they don't want the mob to come after them and be
Yeah.
like, "You're a traitor now," like,
Totally.
like.
Yeah. And art is interesting because it taps into that emotion. People
Yeah,
feel
it's very
so
emotional. You're right.
passionate
Yeah,
about it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I've mentioned on here before, but my sister's an artist, and it's been interesting talking to her because she does fine art, right? She paints, she does oil painting, she does watercolor, she does all these things. And so AI is not really touching that at this point. Maybe Optimus someday will be quite the watercolor painter, but not yet. But she is totally integrated. It's like her assistant, like bounces ideas off it, helps her write summaries, helps her write descriptions, all these different things. And so, I mean, there's a place for it everywhere, and it can help. And
Yeah.
therefore, she gets to spend more time doing art, right? She's not doing this other stuff.
I've seen another really cool thing that I've seen like real or slash physical artists do is to explore concepts with AI and then paint that.
Yeah,
You
I was
that's
know
going to
what I
bring that
mean?
up, actually. I was going to bring that
And
up
that's
exactly.
great, isn't it? Yeah.
There's a woman that I follow on YouTube and TikTok who periodically will do that exactly. She'll generate 3 to 4 images with AI, and then she'll pick different aspects of each image to use as references, and then paints her own inspired version. It's really interesting, and it's fascinating to watch the feedback on in her comments, because half the people are like, this is what AI should be used for, and then there's the handful of holdouts that are like, no, all AI use is evil, and it's like,
Yeah.
one day
Yeah,
we'll reach you.
I think this is the best use of AI in art, to use it as a partner like that. Like, for example, I dream of a music app that has AI that doesn't actually work like Suno or Refusion that generates an entire song. What I want is, say, okay, I want to make a melody, and then you have this melody, and then I want to ask the AI, now make me a bass riff that goes with this melody. Give me a bunch of options, right? And I pick one,
mm-hmm.
or it's like change it a little bit. I can totally imagine like a full DAW system where the AI is doing that kind of stuff for me, and I compose it all together. I'm like the director. If anybody's
I
listening,
know
please build this tool. Take my
Get on
money.
it.
I
Yeah.
know a few people working on that.
Yeah,
Stay tuned.
yeah.
Yeah, so
I can't wait.
I think that they're hoping to release it this year.
That's exciting. I'm really waiting for something like that. I like to
Awesome.
make my own music. I play guitar and dabbling on the piano and stuff like that. And when a tool like this comes out, I'm gonna never leave the house anymore.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. Well, Marco, thank you so much for coming on. You're a true creator, and it has been wonderful to talk to you. We're grateful that you
I
took the
just
time
saw.
to come
Did I
on.
just saw a fourth face for a minute?
Yeah, that's our next guest. I messaged him.
Oh,
Well, we can just cut that.
that's awesome.
But we truly are
Yeah, thanks
grateful,
for
and we're
having me.
excited to see what this next year holds for you.
Okay, I'll be watching you guys as well. Well, it looks like you guys got an
Thank you.
interesting podcast going on, so I'll be watching them.
It's been great. For socials, Marco, where can people follow you to get all this knowledge that you have?
So yeah, the biggest social presence for me is X still. So it's and YouTube, those two. So I have AI and design. So literally like AI and design. That handles the same for me on YouTube as well as on X. That's the easiest way to find me.
Perfect. And we'll drop that in the description as well.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
Marco.
Thanks for having me. It was great.
Yeah, thank
Have
you.
a good one. Bye.